Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, or good morning in some parts of the world, and welcome to the DW-12 first look and ISOWC IndyCar Series special presentation here, live on RaceSpot TV. In just a couple of days' time, we'll be bringing you our edition of the 2014 iRacing.com Indianapolis 500, a special start time of that of 1:30 PM Eastern Time. And you can see right now the drivers are about to line up on the grid. So immediately we're going to go down trackside for those most famous words of motorsport. It is the chairperson of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Mrs. Mary Holman George.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
So then, ladies and gentlemen, the field are lined up here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and for the first time, you can see the beautiful DW-12 here on the iRacing service. We're going to very quickly run through your grid, and you can see already the guys are working themselves through the banking, getting ready to go racing here today for a total of 50 different laps. You can follow us at RaceSpot TV all race long if you like to stay in contact with us. And right now the guys are lined up on the grid, a random grid here today, and we're going to get set to go racing in just a couple of moments time. This is the first time that you see the DW-12 here on the iRacing service, and I tell you what, it is going to be a fascinating thing to see these drivers here today. Now you see them coming down into turn number 3. The lights are off on the pace car, and these guys are going to go racing for 50 laps around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Alongside me, I have got my in-race reporter today. That is Oscar Hardwick. Oscar, you on the grid? Are you ready?
As ready as I'm ever going to be. Starting back here seems pretty ominous, and with the quality of driver on the grid as well, it's going to be scary stuff, but really looking forward to it. The car's great.
Track temperature right now is 78 degrees Fahrenheit. There is a northerly wind of 3 kilometers an hour, and race relative humidity, well, that is 55%. Pace car going to make that journey down towards pit road. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the DW-12 here on iRacing. You see the field getting set to go racing. They're working themselves now, and for the first time ever, the DW-12 on iRacing is green. Cars coming down into turn number 1 for the first time, and what a sight this is, as they are too wide for the mid-pack, some of them. But we stay green through turn number 1. Everyone clean through okay. Cars trying to get through turn number 2. Will they get through that one as well? I think the answer to that one is yes, they are. Everyone through those first couple of corners okay. That is the important bit. We'll run through your field in just 1 moment's time. And you want to see how these cars look like on board? Let's have a look. We're riding now with that number 22 car, and he is currently scored in that first position as he comes past. No, he's not. He's not going to lead there. You see, this is the draft working, and it's Tim Holgate to the point there. And he is your race leader for the time being. To run through your top 5, it is Tim Holgate leading from Young O, then Gooden in 3rd, Cross in 4th, Johnson 5th, and then the rest of your top 10, they're up on your screen. But Holgate is leading, but you see Young O is trying to come back, and we're under caution for the first time. And we believe it is Troy Eddy who's involved in that one. We'll get ourselves a replay up on your screen. This is down into turn number 1 by the look of it. Okay, Troy Eddy in that number 25 car, working himself down into turn number 1. Would be able to get up in this angle. He just smacks the wall there, and that causes a 2-car pile-up. Oscar, were you there in the middle of that one?
Well, I excuse me, came right up behind it. Quite a bit of avoidance to get sorted there, but yeah, interesting one. I've moved forward, what's that, about 8 positions from the start, 9 positions even, so yeah, it worked out quite well for me, and I think everyone sensibly there, once they saw the issues, it looked like maybe understeer issues for a lot of people through turn 1, going side by side, so everyone checked up well. Pretty good avoidance from all in general.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, don't forget, this coming Saturday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, RaceSpot TV's presentation of the 2014 iRacing.com Indianapolis 500. We'll have full build-up, then all 500 miles of the race as well. And also, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, PSRTV will have their presentation of the iRacing.com Indianapolis 500. Both of those races will be on iRacing Live, as well as we welcome the DW-12 onto the iRacing.com service. Right now, it is Tim Holgate scored as your race leader, and he's had a good opening lap here. We'll have a look through how things stand right now. It is Holgate leading from O, then Gooden, Cross, Johnson, Hurskett, Freeman, Kelly, Manath, and Simpson. They are your top 10. We'll run through things how they are for the time being. We've only had a couple of laps complete so far. However, Oscar, those first couple of laps, they were really interesting, and we've got a couple of cars actually coming down onto pit road.
Yeah, it was a very interesting first couple of laps. People coming to terms still with the car. I mean, obviously I've been introduced to the service today, so lots of learning still to do. Lots of people really suffering with understeer in turn 1, myself included. So it'll be interesting to see. I actually gained a few positions just from lifting through the corners. If anything, one thing I've heard from others today, and could probably agree with myself, is that the whole experience driving this car, it's a whole lot more connected. There's a lot more driver input into getting around the circuit safely on this version of the car as opposed to the old version that we've had in iRacing previously.
Yeah, and let's talk very quickly about that, because it's not just the fact that we've got ourselves the DW-12, it's also the new time model V5, which a couple of people will be familiar with, of course, running in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. It's same time model used there, same time model of course used in the NASCAR Peak Entry Series, powered by iRacing.com as well. And what a difference it makes compared to the IRL 0509 car. And you talk about the fact that your drivers have to drive that car. It also, you can really feel the way the car goes on the racetrack here. You're kind of completely in control of it.
Yeah, it's a very natural feeling, and you know, there's obviously the struggle with, say, wind conditions that can cause you a few more issues than normal into turn 1, but turn 3 in particular is just gorgeous. You can really keep your foot planted, and it's almost a subconscious movement of the hands to get it through that corner safely, and it's such a nice feeling. And when you do feel this connected to a car at these speeds, it becomes important. It adds to that awareness that you need to have, and minus that incident we've had there, you can really tell from some of these drivers that they're starting to enjoy and get up to speed with this car very quickly.
Well then, the lights are off on the pace car. Going to go back to green flag racing with 46 laps to go in this event. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget as well, you can follow us on Twitter at RaceSpot TV. Let us know your thoughts as that pace car comes in. We're going to show you the sights and sounds of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the DW-12. Green flag back in the air. Battle for the race lead, and it is free wide down into turn 1. It looks as though that Holgate was just able to, no he doesn't actually, Young O was classified as leading that lap. However, he is now being passed by Wyatt Gooden, who goes to the point there in the number 17 car. So Gooden leads, but down the back straight away, here comes Young O again, and he is going to try and go too wide. In fact, Tim Holgate's going to try and make it 3 wide once again as they come down in turn number 3 and 4. Holgate's got the inside line. He will make that pass complete there, and they're going to be too wide, too deep as they work themselves out of corner number 4. This is the type of racing we've been longing for here on the iRacing.com service. The remaining 2 wide battle between Tim Holgate in the number 6 blue car and then that famous red and yellow of Young O as they come back down into 1. Oh, leads the lap, we got to spin a car into the wall, and the yellow flag is back out. And that is Randy Freeman there. Randy Freeman in the number 20 car involved in that one. Let's get ourselves a replay. coming down into turn number 1. You see it on your screen, just tagged from behind there, and that puts him out of the race. And that is Dennis Hirschkopf there involved in that incident as well in the Club Diach number 2 car. Second caution of the day. But his last couple of laps, Oscar, that battle out front was just phenomenal. And the draft, I think that is the important thing to think about there. The draft is just absolutely phenomenal.
It really is. I was sitting behind the 3 car on that start, and both of us really didn't get off to a particularly good one. Coming onto the back straight, 8/10 of a second gap, you still get that draft, and it just pulls you, it sucks you straight back up to the action. So I think, sort of irrespective of your pace and split come the big race next week, you're going to be involved in the action at some point or another, just because of how effective the draft is on these cars.
And surprise, surprise, Young O is leading in the DW-12. If anyone was just thinking it was just the IOL car that he was fast in, think again. It's been less than 24 hours since the DW-12 come out, and the guy who is an ISOWC Indy 500 champion twice, the guy is a 16th Street Racing League champion, the guy who is an iRacing.com Indianapolis 500 champion is already leading in the DW-12. And you talk about some of the greatest open winners of all time. We always think, Oscar, about people like Gregor Hutu, people like Hugo Louise. However, Young O, you've got to say, as far as IndyCar goes, has got to go in that mix. Just dominant.
Yeah, I mean, to come into a brand new car, everyone is learning. And you've got to imagine that there are people on this grid that have put a lot more time in today than Young O has. So, yeah, it's incredibly impressive. And, again, to have that consistency in draft races that you get here at Indy, to always be at the front, that shows something really special. And again, he's bringing the form straight away, so I'm imagining we'll see him at the front fairly soon in multiple races using this car.
A couple of drivers are coming on to pit road, as you see there. Not many takers, however, we are going to likely see one pit stop here, and it'll be interesting to see if we get some green flag running. Some of these guys pitting now, Oscar, might actually have the advantage.
They may well do. I'm not 100% sure of just how far you can go on a fuel tank here, but it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we're on lap 9, so you've got to think maybe anywhere between now and lap 20, and you can fuel the thing to the end anyway. So if fuel even becomes an issue, then again, and I was doing a bit of running earlier on with Monica Clara Brand, and we found out that the rate at which the tyres went down, I mean, over probably 6 green flag laps, there was 6 to 7% tyre degradation on the front right. So again, there's going to be a lot to play for come the end of this race in terms of strategy.
MCB, of course, the most famous woman in simulated IndyCar, making her return to the series here today. And what great it is to see MCB back in her famous yellow and blue cars. And you see she's qualified in the 31st position. She is right now running in the 20th spot on the racetrack, so she's having a good race, moving herself through the field for the time being. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step aside for just one moment. However, you are looking at the DW-12 first look here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and ISOWC IndyCar Series special presentation here on RaceSpot TV. We'll be right back.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to an ISOWC IndyCar Series special presentation of the DW-12. First look here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Before we want to go back to Green Flag Racing, RaceSpot TV would like to pay our regards to the family of Jack Brabham, who of course lost his life earlier on today. Now, Jack Brabham ran in 4 Indy 500s, as well as being, of course, a 3-time Formula 1 champion. And Oscar, Australia's probably greatest ever open-wheel driver, is going to be sorely missed.
He is indeed, and just thinking back to all of those accomplishments, I mean, just to take part in the Indy is so good, and I believe he got a top 10 or 2 in his time. And again, you think of the 3 Formula 1 World Championships that he won, the only Formula 1 World Champion to win out of his own car. It's an incredible legacy that he's left behind, and he did so very much for the sport. And again, his sons, they continue on doing great things in motorsport as well. So, as a, you know, we mourn the loss of Jack Brabham, but as a family, they continue to live on in motorsport.
Indeed, and once again, RaceSpot TV would like to pay regards to their family, of course, at this very difficult time. Jack Black, you'll always be in our thoughts. Thank you for everything you've done. Meanwhile, things here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Tim Holgate actually came onto pit road there, so he's fallen down to the 30th position for the time being. So there's a good chance that he's on that alternate fuel strategy. Gonna have to keep an eye out on that. Out front, however, we are keeping our eye out on Young O. Here comes the pace car in. Young O bringing the field back to the green flag here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Oh, trouble on the restart there. Caution is back out. 4, 5, 6, 7 cars involved. And we've got Brendan Whitaker involved in that. Craig Skelton involved in that as well. You see the track is completely blocked right now. Drivers are trying to get through. You've got Tapana Laniotto involved in that incident. Nathan Garska and Benoit Deber all involved in that incident. And a little bit like the Indy Grand Prix of St. Petersburg there, Oscar. Just looked to be that restart cut some drivers out.
Yeah, had the whole group in front of me absolutely gun it. I mean, I was sitting a good 3-4 car lengths back, and I saw the whole 10-15 cars in front that I've actually got eyes on all accelerate, and then all jam on the brakes, and by which point us as a little group behind had a bit too much pace, and I've locked up, gone into them, rolled over, so I'm towing at the moment. Absolute. You know, it's one of those things. Really, on a restart, it should be a one and done. But with this many cars, it's expected that you're going to get a bit of bunching. So I guess it's one of those things.
There we are. So get another replay up on your screen there. And you see it was right in the mid-pack as well. The drivers are having to try and avoid it. Big wreck. I believe that MCB was involved in that one. We'll get you a full list of drivers in just 1 moment's time. We believe Monica Clare-Brand, Oscar Hardwick, Dougie E. Smith, Benoit Duba, Nathan Trotter, Tapana Laniotto, Brandon Whitaker, and Craig Selton all involved in that one there. And we'll try and get ourselves potentially one more. We're going to actually get ourselves an onboard now. We're going to have a look on board with MCB. And in fact, she was already involved in that mess there. In fact, we'll have a look at an onboard, see what it was like from Oscar Hardwick's car. And there you see, it's that stopping and starting you're just talking about. It seems to be, once you get on the gas pedal, slowing down can be very difficult. Of course, these cars, Oscar, you know, they are set up for running on, you know, very basically minimum drag completely. And then to have to slow that car down the second after you start it can be mighty difficult. And everyone is on pit road this time.
Indeed, like, again, I think it is one of those things that you come to expect with this kind of racing, and everyone gets a bit aggressive on the starts. I did, no exceptions there. It's one of those things that's going to happen, and you can't slow it down. You try everything you've got in reserve, but you cannot get this thing stopped once you've sped it up that much, and they really do accelerate quickly. So a bit of a shame. Got the car repaired, back on track now, and just took the opportunity to fill it up with fuel, see what we can do with that, maybe run the alternative fuel strategy and get a lap back at some point.
So there you see, pretty much everyone came onto pit road that time by. They are the pit stop times there running across the top of your screen. And Young O falls down into the 7th position because like, a couple of drivers decided not to pit there. That's going to be a very interesting strategy to see as this race continues there. As Ricky Harden is now classified as your race leader for the first time in this event, Oscar.
Yeah, again, it's weird strategies like this that allow you to see different people at the front. Although I think if we get going, if we get a long green flag run, the draft is going to be the main contributor to the number of different people that you're going to see at the front. I mean, we saw it the other day in a similar Star Mazda race, and I mean, today I can't see it being any different. The draft is absolutely massive once you get up to speed.
Of course, don't forget, 2 Indy 500 broadcast, one on PSRTV Friday night. We've got our own 1:30 PM Eastern Time here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. However, if you are an iRacing member, don't forget, this Memorial Day weekend, you can have your own little piece of Indy 500 history as the iRacing.com World Tour kicks itself back into gear with the 2014 iRacing.com Indianapolis 500. And Oscar, before we came on air, we were talking about this because, yeah, we've got the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We've got the iRacing.com NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. We've also got big events like the Daytona 500, but the Indy 500 is always that one that gets people excited.
It is, it's the one that gets people excited, and I think you could almost argue more importantly, it's the one that really gets everyone going. I mean, minus maybe the Daytona 500, this is where you'll see the most sign-ups. And I think with the introduction of the DW-12, the brand new car to the iRacing service, you're going to see higher numbers than I think we've ever seen before signing up to do these two races over the coming weekend.
Cars currently working themselves under caution. Ricky Harden is scored as your race leader, and you see that the lights are still on top of the iRacing.com first safety car. So this is how it is after the round of pit stops. Ricky Harden is your race leader. Hal Pino is scored in the 2nd position. Stewart in 3rd. Penton in 4th. Tim Doyle 5th. Tim Holgate in 6th. Now, don't forget that it was actually Tim Doyle and Tim Holgate who pitted that last caution. They've been able to cycle through, and now they're scored ahead of Young O, and actually back again to the top 5, Oscar, and they avoided the busy pit lane.
Yeah, not only that, but there are a bunch of us lapped guys in between. So not only has that worked out pretty well on the alternative strategy, but there's a lump of cars that the other fast guys are going to have to get through.
Indeed it is, as we're looking on board there with Tim Doyle. You see, he started this race in the 32nd position. He worked himself up now into the 4th place, and he has qualified pretty much up and down the field. Tim Doyle is one of those players you really have to pay attention to this coming Friday, Saturday on iRacing Live as we enter the iRacing.com Indianapolis 500. Who can forget those two memorable battles with his teammate Young O? In 2011, it was Tim Doyle who took the spoils. In 2012, it was Young O who took the spoils. Of course, we've had two other winners as well, but they are always those two guys, Tim Doyle, Young O. When you think about the iRacing.com Indy 500, they're the first ones that always come to your mind, Oscar, because they've always been there or thereabouts.
Yeah, they are. And like I said earlier on, what impresses me is that oval racing is a tricky game to always be at the front of. But you've got the likes of Young O who are always at the front of the oval racing that they're doing. I mean, it's incredible stuff. I myself cannot fathom how they manage it. I mean, I for one certainly can't, but then I'm not even remotely at that level. These guys, they always put on a show, and they always put on a school for everyone else involved.
In fact, Oscar Hardwick there is bringing his car down pit road. He's not actually going to pit, so you're just driving through pit road. Any reason at all why, Oscar?
I was right in front of Young O, right in front of Wyatt Gooden. I'm out of my depth with those guys, but, you know, I don't want to be the one to cause a wreck that includes such good drivers, and I think just to aid the racing, we're going to want those guys straight back to the front as soon as possible.
36 laps are going to be remaining at the line, and it is Ricky Harden who is scored right now at the top of the rostrum. So, he will be bringing the field back to green flag racing here. Hal Pino 2nd, Jonathan Stewart in 3rd, Marco Penton in 4th, Tim Doyle 5th, then Tim Holgate, Young O, Wyatt Gooden, Chad Simpson, Mike Kelly. They round out your top 10. Right now, we've got ourselves 21 cars scored on the lead lap. We've got a number of retirees. We've got Dragonetti and Arkenbart. They were out at the start of this race. Dennis Hertzka also out in lap number 1. Benoit Dubar is classified as out of the race, as is Brendan Whitaker, Douglas E. Smith, Craig Skelton, and Mark Gomez. All right now classified as out. However, before we go back to green flag racing, let's talk about Ricky Hardin. He started this race in the 16th position. He was running there pretty much for most of the time. And also, Oscar, he's car number 33, the last guy to make it into this field.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think, having started in that position, you're now at the front. You are where the pace setters are at. There's a lot of pressure on someone at that point, but you got to think, going to make the most of it at this point. I imagine that's exactly what was going through Ricky's head.
Pace car going to come down onto pit road, and it is going to be this guy bringing the field back to green flag racing, as we have got 36 laps to go here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Much better restart there. Green flag back in the air. Harding gets the early jump then through turn number 1. However, the pack isn't very far behind. Just about 4 car lengths right now as they work themselves on the exit of turn number 2. See how Pinot is already catching there in that number 15 car in the battle for the race lead. We've got a little bit of two-wide action going on behind him there. Tim Doyle in that number 11 car going side by side right now with Tim Holgate in the battle for what is essentially 5th position on the racetrack. However, out front here comes Hal Pinot. He's going to look to try and go to the race lead. He will get that job done into corner number 1. Your new race leader is Hal Pinot in that number 15 car. But Harding isn't giving up back yet. Down the back straightaway, you see Harding's going to try and go back down to the inside. This is what we're going to expect to see all weekend long in the iRacing.com Indianapolis 500. Harding on the inside, Al Pinot on the outside, and Harding sweeps that pass into turn number 3. He gets the job done, but will Pinot try and come back across him as they work themselves out of corner number 4? This is something these drivers will be preparing for, lap number 200 in the event in a couple of days' time. And whether or not they can actually get that job done at the line. And you see, now looking on board with Yao Pinot. He's fallen down to the 3rd position, but ahead of him, we're going to have ourselves Jonathan Stewart now. He was trying to go to the front. He wasn't quite able to get that job done. So then they come down the back straight away once again. And as they work themselves through corner number 3 and 4, Harding has led since the restart here. He has got past by Yao Pinot, however, is able to keep that job done. A little bit of a 4-car breakaway right now in that battle for the race lead. However, Jonathan Stewart, he's looking mighty close. He will stay in line this time, guy, and looks like that top 4 are now just trying to check out as they work themselves through turn number 1 and 2 once again. So then looking high above from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, you see there Tim Holgate once again on the move as he tries to get himself up a position. Now Holgate is a driver that many people in the IndyCar community are very well known about. He's right now running in that 3rd position, trying to close down the guys.
Oh, big wreck at the back, huge wreck.
Caution is out, and let's go and get ourselves a look at that one, because we've got Jonathan Goke in the 08 car who is now out of the race. Let's see how this one happened. And this was properly working down into turn number 3 and 4. You see, we're having a look at our replay. There you see John Goke just spinning around the car there, up into the air. 5, 6 cars involved. Let's get another replay, this time on board with Jonathan Goke, and let's see how it happened from his angle. There you are, you see, look down to the inside of the 8 car, and it just looks like he had the complete nose chopped off him in there by that number 8 car. That was Mike Kelly there, and Kelly upside down. He will be classified as out of this race as well. One more replay, this time from Kelly. You see, he just comes across and that puts him up into the air, into the barriers, and that is it. He is out of this race. And that's that thing. The drafting here means people are having to take some very, very big risks, Oscar. But sometimes you've got to be careful with your car placement.
You do have to be very careful with your car placement. But again, on the topic of risks, in a 200-lap race 18 laps in, you're not making any. But you've got to remember, this is a 50-lap race. We've only got 32 to go. Come next Friday, Saturday, this is going to be that last segment. This is going to be go time if you're at the front. So the guys that are thinking that they're going to be in that top split come next week, yeah, they're going to be going for it now just to get that practice.
A couple of drivers coming onto pit road, and that includes, ladies and gentlemen, your previous IndyCar champion, Young O, who is making that journey onto pit road right now. And you see, about half the field have come down, half the field has stayed out. That's going to be a really interesting one to see. And Young O right now in that number 22 car. He's got the closest pit stall to the front, of course, qualifying in that pole position. Let's see what his pit time is going to be. And it looks to be a pretty short stop. Car coming out behind him, however, tyres are down. He's out and away. A little bit of wheel spin, 7.2 seconds for him. Tim Doyle, however, will come out. He had a 7.3 second stop there, and he wins that race off of pit road that time by. Now, pit stops are going to be crucially important, not only today, but also this coming Memorial Day weekend, Oscar.
Yeah, incredibly important. Not only have you got to get it down off of 4, not so tricky under caution, but if you get a long green flag run, you're decelerating from about 220 miles per hour, which in these things, with such little downforce, is no mean feat. It is a proper task. Then you're onto pit lane. You've still got the problem of locking. You've got to bring this thing to a safe stop, but when it's this competitive, it's got to be a quick stop as well. At which point, you've got to think about the positioning in the box. You've got to get it as nicely as you can. Don't want to overrun, don't want to underrun. You want to make it absolutely as easy as possible. So, there's so much to think about in a pit stop. And again, you come to an end of a race. If everyone makes a late stop, how much is track position worth? So, it makes a huge difference. It's only 6-7 seconds out of your day, but it can make or break your race.
Having a look from the rear of Ricky Hardin, who is still classified as your race leader. We talked about earlier on, he started this race in the 16th position, but ever since that caution 2 cautions ago, he has stayed out on the racetrack. Now, these cars out front are likely to check out, Oscar, for the simple fact that they actually have now got a lot less fuel than a lot of the guys behind him. However, he's going to hope that you can get a bit of running in, potentially, if everyone else has to pit under green. Maybe, just maybe, he might be able to get that back up. Because otherwise, he's going to fall back down the field.
Yeah, like you say, it's very important, actually, to be checking out, because as soon as you get involved in big pack racing, you sort of start to slow yourself down a bit. It invites more people to the pack, and then that just opens you up to all sorts of misery with people coming past and potential accidents as we get 1 lap to the green flag.
Yep, and we have seen the result on your side of the screen. We will just confirm that for you. It is Ricky Hardin leading from Jonathan Stewart. Those two haven't yet really had a big pit stop. Tim Holgate 3rd, Yao Pinot 4th, Marco Penton 5th, Whitey Gooden, Nick Johnson, Nigel Maneve, Miles Crabb and Connor Cross. They round out your top 10. A couple of drivers involved in that last caution, including Jonathan Gogue, Brad Sanford, Shane Tucker, and the guys scored 1 lap down right now. They are David Chanter, Oscar Hardwick, Pierre Bourdon, Pane Laniotto, and the number 77 car of Monica Clara Brand. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow us on Twitter at RaceSpot TV. Also, let us know your thoughts, whether you're racing in the iRacing.com Indianapolis 500 on Twitter. Use the hashtag iRacing Indy 500. You can also follow us on Facebook as well. Facebook.com/RaceSpot TV. Or you can follow myself, Will Vincent, at Facebook.com/I am Will Vincent. With 1 L, please, not 2. So, pace car working itself through corner number 3 and 4 again. Our 4th caution of the day. It says 2 lead changes. However, that is lead changes at the line. That is an important thing to bear in mind. There are a couple of people we really need to keep our eye out on. Tim Holgate is one of them. He's currently running in the 3rd position. Keep an eye out for Marco Penton in that number 65 car. Nigel Maneve won a Star Mazda race here yesterday on the oval. Keep an eye out for him. Connor Cross in that number 10 car. He has had a very good race so far. Then you've got Randy Freeman, who's running in the 11th position. And then finally, you know that famous car, that famous yellow and red, that is Young O, scored in the 12th position right now. Pace car making its journey back down onto pit road, and Ricky Hardin's going to bring the field back to green flag racing here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Waiting a while this time. Waiting a long while, but now he gets going, and another car spinning around there. That's going to bring the caution back out. Once again, Oscar, cautions breed cautions, and that was down at the rear of the field there.
Yeah, it was another concertina. That one, if anything, much worse. There was actually 2 goes and 2 stops on that start, and it comes to a point where you think, yes, it's worth getting a jump at the front, but it's not worth taking out the rest of the field by speeding up and slowing down a few times to pull it off.
There you see, I believe that was just at the rear of the field. In fact, actually, that was just ahead of Young O. So we'll try and get a replay of that from on board Young O, because this will be very interesting to see what was going on this restart. There you see, car just spinning right ahead of him there. So it's actually just a couple of cars ahead of Young O, and it was Connor Cross there who was involved in that. You see, he's brought the car back around. He's going to try and get that thing back to pit road, get himself 4 fresh tyres and top up with Sunoco race gas. But let's have a look, see what happened now from Connor Cross is on board. You see, we got going, slowed down, got going, slowed down, then he just clipped the rear there, the 301 car. I think someone might have tagged him from behind, and that is exactly what you're talking about, Oscar, there. Those stop-starts is causing a bit of an issue for some of these drivers.
Yeah, I mean, 1 stop-start is 1 too many, and that time we had 2, so the guys at the front really need to, as soon as that pace car is in, the next time they apply the throttle needs to be all the way down, and they need to get themselves going.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step aside for just 1 moment's time, then we'll be back with continued coverage of the DW-12 first look from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a special presentation of the ISOWC IndyCar Series. We will be right back. Don't want to see any more.
Yeah, and particularly with these runs under yellow, you're not using the tyre and you're not using the fuel, which works out perfectly if you're at the front. Whereas if you're one of the guys that took a more risky strategy, if you're Young O, who's taken a couple of pit stops and is now running somewhere down in the pack, that's not worked out for you. So yeah, it's a good call, and seeing as the cautions are coming as thick and fast as they are, certainly a call that you would consider one being made by a potential winner of the race.
Race weather here today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is 78 degrees Fahrenheit, a wind speed of 3 kilometers per hour to the north, and race relative humidity is 55%. We saw Conor Cross just a moment ago coming out of pit road. Ricky Harden, we talked about him just a little bit as well. Now, Harden hasn't made a pit stop. However, if you want to give him a little bit of credit, he's led the most laps in this race so far, leading 14 of them. The only other drivers to lead laps, well, they are Young O, who has led himself a total of 6 laps today, and Tim Holgate, he's led himself a total of 4 laps in this event. It's all about Ricky Harden. However, we did have a look. He hasn't yet pitted, so he might still actually need to make a pit stop at some point in this event. Going to be fascinating to see what happens as we enter the second half of this race. Now, Oscar, we've got the cautions out of the way. Hopefully we can go green flag racing. We saw that yesterday. We should see that again today, right?
Let's hope so. I mean, I think everyone on the grid at the moment wants to get a solid 15-20 laps out of the way. You know, really get some racing done, figure out how the draft works, make some moves, get that understanding of how the car really handles flat out around this track, something that, as of yet, we've not really managed to do.
So then, we are going to see the pace car make its journey back down onto pit road in just 1 moment's time. And as it does so, we'll show you some more sights and sounds of this. The iRacing.com DW-12. Finally here on the iRacing.com service. We'll be running it this weekend in the 2014 iRacing.com Indianapolis 500. But for the time being, I'm sure you guys want to see the car that will be racing. And we're going to do that right now. Green flag back in the air. Harden still scored as your race leader for the time being. However, he's got now Jonathan Stewart right on his tail as they work themselves out of corner number 2 once again in this, the battle for the race lead. And you see now side-by-side action. Here comes Stewart down to the inside. Both the cars are red and black, but it's Stewart on the inside. You see Holgate going down to the inside as well. He's going to try and do the dive and get past Ricky Harden. He's actually going to get that job done through corner number 4. Behind him, it's Hal Pino in that number 15 car. We'll go on board of him right now because he is right there in the thick of the action in that number 15 machine. It's actually, I believe, Monica Clara Brand ahead of her, lap down, trying to get herself a lap back. Indeed it is in that number 77 car right now. So the way these single file restarts work is that Monica Clara Brand knows if she can get to the front of the field, in fact, potentially just get past Tim Holgate, there is a good chance that she'll be able to get herself the wave around and get back on the lead lap. Here comes, oh, big trouble down the back, and that was just as Tim Holgate was trying to get himself to the race lead. Oscar, that looks like it's you involved there.
Yeah, it was. The 92 car caused some issues with me and Yang O, pushed Yang up the track, and I had nowhere to go, and yeah, you hit that outside wall, the thing's uncontrollable going into turn 2, so there are a couple of us taking a roll, and I believe Yang O's got some pretty heavy damage as well.
Get ourselves another look of that as well. A big wreck there down at the back of the field. And that's exactly the same time that Tim Holgate was trying to go for the race lead. And that is not going to help. A couple of these people scored one lap down. Monica Clara Brand, for example. There you see the wreck on your screen. Once again, cars up and around there. Big, big wreck. And that puts those two drivers now safely out of the race. However, we've got ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, a new race leader. It is Jonathan Stewart there in the number 4 car. Oscar, I think Stewart might need to come onto pit road. I think Hardin might need to come on pit road as well. I think the interesting one is going to be Tim Holgate. Whether or not he risks coming onto pit road here. So if he does, he'll give a couple of drivers potentially the wave around.
Yeah, very true. So top 3 come onto pit road, and that's going to give Monica Clara Brand the wave around. But then you've got Yao Pino, who is lead lap, so it would require him coming in as well to allow... Oh no, actually behind him it's all race position all the way back down to... Who's that? Randy Freeman. It's all race position, so you're going to need lots of pitters to get anyone other than Monica, and it doesn't look like there are any takers, so no lapped cars getting the lap back this time by.
No, it looks as though they're about 7 wide there, all thinking whether they're going to come in, whether they're going to stay out, and it just looks like we get a couple of takers to the rear. I think that actually that Easy Young O to the rear of the field.
Got some fairly heavy right side damage, and the problem with that is it knocks a few of the your toe, your camera and whatnot out on the right side. Very important when you're going around and over like that kind of speed. Turn 2's caused some looseness issues, and you get yourself the damage there, and it doesn't get any better. So I understand why he's coming down pit road. If my car hadn't pirouetted, rolled and crashed into just about everything, I imagine I'll be doing much the same.
So, going to make a pit stop here once again is, let's see what his pit stop time is for Young O in that number 22 car, because he might have to get quite a bit of repairs done. Actually, no, he's going to bring that car back out, just 4 fresh tyres for him, and he's going to top up with some OK race gas as well. That number 22 car back out, but is now scored in the 15th position on the racetrack.
Yeah, a bit of tough luck there for Yang. He got pushed out in turn 1 by the number 92 car, and let me just find out who that is. I'm a bit out of the loop sitting on track. That's Pierre Boudon. Yep, came up the track a bit, caused a few issues, but not a lot you can do. Turn 1 is tricky, and Yang Ao, very quick driver, is more used to the guys at the front, so pinned him just a little bit more than maybe the driver of the 92 is expecting.
Couple of people actually saying on Twitter that some of these guys are deliberately trying to harm their speed, and that's going to be a fascinating one to keep an eye out on. I doubt that's going to be the case, but of course always is the conspiracy theorists at play. Let's run through your top 10 very quickly, because it is Jonathan Stewart, our 4th different leader here today, leading from Tim Holgate. 3rd place is Ricky Hardin, 4th place is Yao Pino right now. And then in the 5th place is Marco Penton and Wyatt Gooden in 6th. Nick Johnson 7th. Nigel Marneath in 8th position, whilst Crab in 9th. And then Randy Freeman rounds out your top 10. Looks as though that those lights are... Yes, they are going to go out. Here's an interesting one, Oscar. Can Stewart do it without pitting?
I think so, yes. I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes, he can.
We don't know. That's a fascinating thing.
Yeah, that is. There's just not been enough running with this car yet for, I think, anyone to have a completely solid understanding of just how far it will go tyres and fuel-wise. So, an interesting one to see, judging by what I saw in my car and the laps completed under green so far. It's perfectly reasonable that he could make it to the end, but I mean, if anything, he'll want the cautions to carry on going at this point, because otherwise I think it'll be a struggle.
He wants the cautions, we don't want the cautions.
Well, it doesn't matter for me anymore. The car's absolute toast. I've been upside down twice, and iRacing only lets me get away with that once,
So then, here we are with 20 laps to go. With 19 laps to go at the line. There you see our field. And they are working around on the racetrack. Of course, you can see the ticker along the top of your screen as well. Try to say it again, Oscar. Try to do it with music this time. I think I will. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, this coming Saturday, the iRacing.com Indianapolis 500 here live on RaceSpot TV. Join myself, Will Winton, along with Aaron Likens and Paul Jenkins from 1:30 PM Eastern as we bring you all the facilities of the iRacing.com Indianapolis 500 and then all 200 laps of racing itself live here on RaceSpot TV. Here comes the pace car, going to make that journey down onto pit road once again. Let's get ourselves some green flag running, boys. Pace car now comes in, and we're going to go back to green flag racing. A good restart there. The field nicely separated. Looks as though that everyone's going to get going. Green flag is back out, Oscar. Down into turn number 1 they come. There you see, Stewart is your leader. Holgate right behind him. They've got ourselves about a 5 car length advantage to the guys behind as they work themselves out of corner number 2 once again. You've still got MCB in that picture. She's still trying to get herself back onto the lead lap. That is one story that you've got to bear in mind. Back in 2011, Monica Clare-Grand had to come down pit road without whilst the pit road was closed, had to get herself some fuel, wasn't able actually to get herself that fuel done before pit road opened, got herself a black flag, fell a lap down. She knows what it's like to be in this position, and you see that she's trying to come through the field. Right now, she comes past another car. She's currently scored in this 17th position. She's run as low as 31st here today, but trying to get ourselves back into that lead lap. It'll be interesting to see what happens if she does. There's a big wiggle there. Car almost going off the racetrack behind. That was somewhere around Young O actually, but we stay green for the time being, as I believe that was Connor Cross actually there involved in that mix as well. Out front, it is between Jonathan Stewart and Tim Holgate as they come out of corner number 2. And this is the draft that everyone is talking about. And this is the speed that everyone is talking about as well. 228 miles an hour down into turn number 1. Tim Holgate trying to get that job done. He's about 2 tenths of a second back right now from your race leader, who is Jonathan Stewart. But these guys are mighty, mighty close on the racetrack.
They are indeed, and you can see that group with Monica behind doing everything they can to catch up, but it does get tricky once you're in the draft. All the cars are moving quickly, and I'm not seeing too many moves going on at the moment. Really, the best place to make them work is going down into turn 1, although we've got side by side with Nigel Marneef and Miles Crabb coming through turn 3, as someone there has just taken to the pit lane very quickly, and that was in fact Wyatt Gooden.
Yeah, Gooden there, potentially just getting a little bit loose on the exit of corner number 4. Here's Marneef, he's going to get down to the inside, and he will complete that pass. And here, a little bit of contact. There might be another caution coming, but Marneef, for the time being, has advanced the position. He's now up into the 6th spot on the racetrack. Behind him, there's still quite some good battling going on as well. But Holgate now is just 2 tenths of a second back. You see also that you've got Monica Clare-Grand right there in that group as well now. If she can get to this lead, then she will get herself back onto the lead lap. And this is an interesting story to say. We've got to keep our eye out. Here she comes down to the inside, and she will make that pass happen right now on Tim Holgate.
Yeah, fantastic move down to turn 1, and obviously turning some very clean laps to get involved in that little lead battle. Proper scrap going on and doing a fantastic job to move through the field.
Holgate is still scored in the 2nd position, even though he is that 3rd car in line. It is, however, Jonathan Stewart still leading the way out front. And now, actually, because Stewart's got a buffer between himself and Holgate, he can kind of chill out a little bit. Although it does look as though that MCB is going to try and get herself past this time by. Let's see whether she gets that job done into turn number 1. And it looks like she's going to go down to the inside. Monica Clare-Grand is now officially back on the lead lap, Oscar.
Yeah, although you've got Stewart trying his absolute utmost to hold it around the outside, hasn't quite worked. And have they got a caution?
We have got ourselves a caution.
That was perfect then for Monica. Straight back onto the lead lap right as you get the caution call. So a bit of luck, a bit of timing, but you've got to hand it to a stunning bit of work there.
And it was Chad Peterson, the cause of our caution there. This was down into turn number 1. There are 3 wide running, and you see, oh, bound down into the attenuator there. That was a big, big crash for Chad Peterson. Let's get ourselves another replay of that up on your screen. Chad Simpson out of the race, and that is a big lick there for him, right at the attenuator, the worst place ever to crash.
Yeah, I mean, catastrophically large hit. I mean, not one that you even want to see in sim racing, to be honest. Just absolutely crushing. Horrible place to have an accident.
So, Jonathan Stewart is classified right now as your race leader. However, let's see where Monica Clara Brand is. And look at that. She has got herself the wave around, and she is now scored back on the lead lap. You talk about timing at Indy being everything. That is timing to perfection there.
Absolute perfection. Not only that, but position 14. I mean, from there, with this draft, near enough anything is possible. So, I'd keep an eye on Monica as well now. That ability she's shown to work her way through to the front, get that lead. All she needs to do now is exercise the same set of skills whilst coming through the pack from the back again.
And you know what as well? She can get herself 4 sets tyres and be good to go to the end of this race.
Indeed, she could. She could go down pit lane right now and put herself in an absolutely stunning position to start making up more positions.
Right, Stewart hasn't pitted once again, but you do see behind the guy who was leading this race a little bit early on, Ricky Hardin, has actually had an incident. He is out of the race, and there are a couple of people coming down onto pit road. I believe Nigel Marneef is one of them. Indeed, yes, he is. So this is that time right now. If you are going to come down onto pit road, you've got to be careful. You've got to make sure that pit stop works for him. Let's have an onboard look at Marneef in that Magnus car, because he's got to make sure this pit stop is just perfect for him.
He does indeed. Brings it into the box. Very gently pulled up. You don't need to rush yourself under these cautions, but you do need to line it up properly. It looks like he's done a fantastic job of that. Back down onto the wheels, and away he goes.
7.498 the pit stop for Nigel Marneef there, and he will be the first of the cars who came in to come out of pit road as well, by the look of it. Wow, we still got a race to go on here. We're going to have, what, 10 laps to go at the line? Anything can happen.
Literally anything, and in fact we were talking a bit about Monica maybe taking tyres and a bit of fuel just so that she knows that she's going to have that strong car towards the end of the race. That's exactly what she did. Hit pit road, took tyres, took maybe fuel. And we also saw Connor Cross go onto pit road there, and he is disconnected from the service, so another DNF from this race. Another DNF. Let's run through your top 10, shall we? As it stands right now, it is Stewart from Holgate, from Johnson, from Penton, from Pitto, from Freeman, Krabby, Eddie, Marneef, and Tim Doyle. They are your top 10 right now. Let's talk very differently about this race compared to Saturday. Saturday is going to be, say, you've got to have everything in your court. You've got to get yourself to lap 175, pass that last pit stop, and go going. Also, of course, on Saturday, we've got ourselves open setup. Today, we're running in fixed setup, so everyone is literally running exactly the same setup, and also that means no in-car tools here today. So generally, you've got the anti-roll bar, both front and rear you can use. You've got yourself the weight jacker you can use. Also, you've got yourself but engine mapping that you can use as well, Oscar, in the race on Saturday. And fuel saving and Indy go hand in hand. They really do. And you stick that fuel map up to 8 and the thing feels like a bulldozer with a rickety diesel engine. It uses absolutely no power and no fuel when you stick it up to that. So you get yourself a string of cautions and you're running a fuel strategy, as we see another couple of people towards the front hit pit road. Yeah, I mean, it's real tricky, but it comes into play. And like you say, this is only 50 laps. Over 200, you get so many different things coming into play and so many different strategies and mentalities being exhibited on the racetrack. Now, we've got the one to go signal. Let's talk very quickly about Victor Del Porto, because he's not as well known as a couple of the other drivers here. However, of course, people know RaceSpot TV and iRacing Brazil have a very good relationship, and
Victor Del Porto is a driver who is a 2-time champion in the iRacing Brazil IndyCar Series. And actually, we've got ourselves a bit of a fun event coming up later. We're going to be pitting the very best of the ISOWC, the very best of the 16th Street Racing League, and the very best of iRacing Brazil all together here on RaceSpot TV. Fascinating to watch that one. Del Porto's a driver. I'm going to keep my eye out on this restart. Also, Oscar, I'm going to keep my eye out on him this Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, looking at even more drivers coming in, as we've said, all the way through to these big events, and running in 11th, I mean, I've not really seen or heard very much from Victor in this race, which presumably means he's been doing the right thing and keeping that car right the way out of trouble. So, yeah, he's got to be one to watch, and I think on this last restart, a bit of aggression and a bit of spatial awareness from everyone is going to show us, I would say, at least 4 to 5 laps of absolutely heart-stopping racing.
So Stewart still leads, and let's not forget, Stewart has made a pit stop. We take that back. Stewart has made a pit stop. He did it in just under 7 seconds. You saw it there on your screen. However, for Stewart, he now has got a chance to become, shall we say, the first winner of a broadcasted IndyCar race in the DW-12. Should we give him that credit, Oscar?
I think it's fair to say that's probably true. I'm sure there will have been, various iRacing streamers showing off today with the new DW-12, but this is the first event where you got the commentators down it. You've got a grid full of quality drivers, as we see him now running around turn 4 as the safety car looks to come down to pit road.
Pace car is in. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 10 laps to go, and it starts right now. Good restart. Does seem to be that the field is a little bit slower getting up to speed. You see the wheels on the cars as they try and put that power down into turn number 1. They come once again, and I tell you what, Holgate is on the move right now, Oscar.
Yeah, absolutely. He was the only other person to match the start there of Stewart, and he really got his foot down and already making the pass to go to the lead entering turn 3.
Yep, here he comes, and this is on board now, and he gets that job done. Your new race leader will be Tim Holgate there in that number 6 car, as he has been in it all over the place here today. He started second, he's running as low as bloody first, now is back to the point, but here comes Stewart back down to the inside into turn number 1.
Yeah, it looks like Johnston had a cheeky look there as well, didn't quite make it work, slops himself. One of the words, any of them, back into third.
And as you see, they come down onto the back straight away once again. Here comes Holgate. He's going to try and go for that pass once again as they come down into corner number 3. And Holgate really is putting the moves on right now. He does go back to the point in turn 3 and 4. And behind as well, Johnson side by side. You're seeing it there on your screen as we're riding on board with Tim Holgate, one of our on boards for this race. And they come out onto the back straightaway once again. And I think this is really going to set the tone for the last couple of laps of this race, Oscar. Passing every single lap.
Yeah, here we go. Got a really close pack of 5 at the front. Consisting at the front, you've got Tim Holgate, Nick Johnston just behind, Jonathan Stewart hassling him, and we've had Marco Penttinen and Yalpino join onto the back of that leading group.
As they come down the back straightaway once again, it's side by side between Johnson right now and also Stewart. Stewart down on the inside. He's going to make that pass complete, but only just. No, he doesn't. The outside line is working very well, actually, for Nick Johnson, and he keeps that position. But now he dives down to the inside. Will he be able to get past Holgate at the line? That is going to be the important thing. The answer is going to be Johnson to the point.
Oh, and a big move there from Marco down to turn 1, trying to get the job done and move up to third. He's going to struggle though, and no, I don't think he's going to get done off the exit of 2. Oh, contact!
Oh,
there's the accident!
Spun around, but we get the caution there. Caution is out. You saw it on your screen. We've got 3 drivers involved in that one there, and they continue wrecking onto the back straightaway.
Yeah, they do indeed. It looked like pretty much everyone back there from Victor Del Porto really got on the stoppers and managed to avoid that one, but a few involved and getting squirrely trying to slow it down at front.
Replay up on your screen, and this is Marco Penttinen here coming through. He just gets high in the corner. That spins the Club Finland car around upside down. Marco Penttinen got some big damage. He's going to try and bring that car back onto pit road. We'll get ourselves another replay of that one as well. This time, we get ourselves a TV angle of that as the cars come out of corner number 2. Very close racing, and there just seemed to be the slightest of contacts there. And A lot of drivers have always talked about that side pod to side pod damage. It seems to be that you really can't touch the other cars on the side, otherwise you both go spinning around, and that's where IndyCar racing should be. I think some of these drivers just need to get to grips with that.
Yeah, you know, not just exercising spatial awareness, but giving yourself an extra foot or so of berth to these cars is really something that's necessary. And you saw there, for the most part, these guys giving room and really getting moves done before the corner. What happened there is you had a side-by-side situation through debatably the two most tricky corners in the current conditions, which turn 1 and 2, which are the most understeery and oversteery respectively. So those guys obviously coming together, and like you say, you get side pod to side pod and the cars almost just hook onto each other, and at which point you are just a passenger and there's nothing that can be done to stop it.
So there you see the pace car leading the cars once again. Our 8th different caution of today. Do you think driving an Indy car is easy? These guys have had it in the wars here today. 5 different lead changes. We've got no one coming onto pit road here. To be honest, you really wouldn't want to come into pit road. We've got a couple of guys at the back. I believe that is going to be Penton and bringing his car onto pit road to see whether he can get some of his repairs done. And I think that indeed it is Penton bringing his car onto pit road right now. Is that Nigel Marniz behind him as well? I believe that his car was involved in that incident as well. Let's have a look. We should be able to get ourselves a pretty good camera angle of that. And there you see there is a little bit of bodywork damage to that rear wing. He will bring that car onto pit road. He's
crabbing down the pit lane a little bit as well, so he's got the tracking knocked out a tad on that one. And yeah, the other driver that I saw come down pit road, in fact a lap earlier, was Yalpino, so presumably he got a bit over involved in the incident as well.
Let's talk about this battle out front. Stewart, Johnson, well actually no, it won't be Stewart anymore.
No, not Stewart anymore, no, he's gone.
It'll be Johnson, Holgate and also Krabby involved in the mix, but you cannot discount a couple of people here. Youngo 5th, Tim Dodd in 6th, Victor Del Porto 7th, Monica Clara Brandt now up into the 8th position on the racetrack.
We're saying anything can happen, and she's actually right behind Yango and Tim Doyle. Those two, you've really got to think, yeah, they can make a move forward from that position to the front, and I don't think, as of yet at least, we've seen Nick Johnston rather, make a start from the front. So if he doesn't really make a breakaway, if he doesn't nail this start and keeps it all bunched up, I would say, yeah, pretty much anyone back to Monaco could have a shot at the victory, particularly, like you say, with a few of the spatial awareness issues that drivers are having with the new car. So all it's going to take is the avoidance of one big incident in the last lap or so, and you're the winner.
Lights are still on top of the pace car, and for Johnson, you're right, he hasn't yet led the field back to a green flag here. And of course, after this caution, we get another one, it's game over.
Yeah, I imagine we'll get the green flag, whatever happens next. It'll be a checkered flag or it'll be a yellow flag, but the next one is going to be the one that finishes it.
Having a look from the rear there of Nick Johnson, that is what he'll be seeing in his rear view mirror, as of course we'll keep our eyes on the iRacing.com pace car. For those of you who are just joining us, hello and welcome to the DW-12 first look from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a special presentation of the ISO WC Indy Car Series here on RaceSpot TV. Withington along with Oscar Hardwick here in the booth as we're getting set for the closing stages of this event. And Oscar, lights are off on top of the pace car.
Indeed they are. I believe it's going to be 3 to go when they hit the start-finish line next time by. So 3 laps is something that I believe that the drivers there are capable of doing without crashing into each other. Whether that's going to be the case when everyone's jostling to take the win of this race, maybe not so.
Just having a look on board Monica Clara Brandt, she has got a little bit of damage to that front wing. We can just see her on her screen. What that motorsports.com sign is, MCB has a little bit of damage to her car.
Yeah, and that's not going to help. I mean, any aero damage on things that are this... they are that highly sprung in terms of their aero. It's pretty much everything when you get to a track like this one, so that could really hurt her in these last few laps. Alternatively, it might not do anything at all, and she might still be in with a good shot at a top 5 or even a podium or win.
Who knows, but it is going to be Nick Johnson, who has the whole race in his hands right now. Spin the tyres, it could be game over. Get a good start, he could be the victor. It's that thing, bringing the field to the green flag with just a couple of laps to go. We saw it, of course, in the Indy 500 last year. Tony Kanaan managing to do something bold. Potentially, Tim Holgate could do the same thing here.
Potentially. I mean, potentially any one of those top 5, I think, could have a go in these next 3 laps if things stay clean. Who's your money on?
I'm going to have to put my money, I think, actually, on Tim Holgate in that 6 car. Yourself?
I was going to say the same, but in the interests of being different, I'm going to be outlandish and say that Yang O could get this one in the bag.
And let's not forget, when it comes to the Indy 500, you have got to keep your eye on Young O. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Pace car coming down onto pit road. Nick Johnson bringing the field back to green flag racing. You see a bit of a wiggle already from Tim Holgate, but the field get up to speed. This time by 3 laps to go around the speedways. They all come back down into corner number 1, and what a jump. It looks like it might be a 2-horse race there in that battle for the race lead between Holgate and Johnson. For Holgate though, he can't get going just yet. He's going to go down to the inside already. I was going to say he'd probably want to check out, but he's going to go for that race lead.
It's pretty brave starting to that race this early on. It could really open them up to a threat from behind on the final lap of this race if they stay green. Already you can see the guys behind getting into single file, trying to close that gap.
And they'll come out of corner number 4, this time by 2 laps to go. Who will lead out of the stripe? It's actually just about there. Gonna be Johnson who leads, and he leads that, get this, by 2/1000ths of a second, Oscar.
Indeed, and we've seen Doyle and Yang O get into the wall. Doyle's down onto the apron. I think his race is done. Tapped that wall just a little bit too hard exiting turn 1.
We stay green, however. Tim Holgate, you see him on the right-hand side of your screen. Nick Johnson, you see him on the left-hand side of your screen. That time by, Holgate leads through turn number 3. Now, he's just got to start defending because they'll come out of corner number 4. And ladies and gentlemen, this time by, the white flag in hand. 1 more lap to go around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Indeed, those 2 line of stern. Look, here's Yang O. He's going to get himself involved in the race for the lead.
And never ever discount Young O. They will hook themselves out of corner number 2. Just half a lap left to go. It's Holgate leading right now from Johnson. But then, you see, here he comes, Young O, in that yellow and red car, the 3rd car in line. Around the outside, Johnson will go. You've got Holgate on the inside. They're going to be side by side through corner number 3. This is everything that Young O is going to want to be. Coming out of corner number 4, a little bit of contact here. Here comes Young O, car into the wall. Bit like Hildebrand. Oh! Big trouble! Upside down! It's going to be Troy Eddy! Miles Krabby even! Miles Krabby will take victory from nowhere in that 301 car.
That was absolutely mental.
Let's get ourselves a replay of that. Okay, here it is from the back straight away. And you see, Holgate right now is on your inside line. You've got Johnson on your outside line. But they will then come down into turn number 3 and 4. A little bit of contact, pushes Johnson up high into the wall. He does a Hildebrand. But then, here's your second one. Looks like Young O just runs out of room. It's either hit the attenuator or cut back across the racetrack.
Yeah, just nowhere to go. Got cut off a bit, and I think just tension's got a bit too much at the end of that race.
Having a look now on board with Young O. These are the final couple of moments ahead. You see he gets driven all the way to the attenuator. He smacks the attenuator and Holgate at the same time. Upside down. What a crazy finish we have seen there. But it is Miles Krabby in the 301 car who takes victory. What a way for him. And I think these are going to be some of the happiest donuts he has done in a very, very long time.
Yeah. I'm not convinced he was expecting that one. He really did get dropped by Yang O once he got past, but oh, wow, incredible stuff. I mean, we saw Nick Johnson actually understeer up a bit. He got a tiny bit of contact with Holgate up into the wall. That opened the door for Yang O, who looked to the inside, got cut off by Holgate, but he was keeping his foot absolutely thumped to the floor. Huge accident, left Miles Krabby take the win. Troy Eddy comes home in second, and we spoke about him earlier on. Victor Del Porto, the Brazilian driver, 3rd position, and Monica Clara Brand from a lap down earlier on gets a top 5 in 4th.
And it looks as though he's just going to smash the wing up there. You know, it's all over for Miles Krabby, but he gets victory. He brought that car to the yard of bricks. It's going to be the sweetest thing for him. What a race. Let's have a look through your final race results. And it is Miles Krabby who gets victory here in the 301 car. Troy Eddy comes home in the second position. Victor Del Porto in third. Monica Clara Brown in fourth. And then Tim Holgate rounds out your top five. Then it is Tim Dolan in sixth. Nick Johnson in seventh. Young O in eighth. Nigel Manaf in ninth. And then John Goke rounds out your top 10 with Pierre Bourdon in 11th. Then Xiao Pino rounds out your top 12. Go over to our second page of results. Then it is Sanford from Penton, from Freeman, from Stewart, from Laniotto, Kelly, Smith, and Connor Cross. They are your top 20. Rest of results coming up on your screen momentarily. Oscar, there was a lot of cautions, but we had a great race.
It was good at the end, wasn't it? I mean, I think you've got to bear in mind people are still getting to grips with the quirks, the ins and the outs of this car. You've got a grid of people that are extremely used to a different Indy car. And whilst there were the cautions and the contacts, I really do think the guys at the front put on a show of how it can be done. And give them a week, give them their own setups, I'm sure they'll be able to do it much cleaner.
Indeed it is. We're just getting ourselves a replay there of the last couple of laps. But what a crazy race it has been here today for all of these drivers. We've also got to say, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much to anyone who's been watching this broadcast here today. It's been absolutely fascinating stuff. The DW-12, it's finally here on the iRacing.com service, and what a load of fun we have had here today. Don't forget, one more time, a little later on this week, we have not one, but two iRacing.com Indianapolis 500 that are going to be coming your way. We start with the first one on Friday, PSRTV. That will be at 9 PM Eastern Time on Friday night. That will also be on iRacing Live. Then on RaceSpot TV on Saturday, we start our day with the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series from Virginia International Raceway. Then we head over to the Brickyard for our presentation of the 2014 iRacing.com Indianapolis 500. We'll be on air from 1:30. Join myself, Will Vinton, along with Paul Jenkins, Aaron Likens, as we'll give you all of the festivities that makes Indy Indy. From Jim Neighbours to back home again in Indiana, to the anthem, to the command, to the start, to then 500 miles of racing, to then finally crowning someone an IndyCar champion. Can someone beat Young O? Can someone beat Tim Doyle, just like Brody Kostecki did last year? Or would it be one of those two going back to iRacing Indy 500 victory lane? Anything can happen, but the DW-12 is here and it is on iRacing. Thank you very much for being a part of our broadcast here tonight. You've been watching an ISOWC IndyCar Series special look DW-12 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We'll see you all next time. Bye bye. Thank you very, very much for watching.